Another month has come and gone, so it is once again time for another installment in the monthly mock draft series we do here on this channel. With the month of March starting, we're now just around the corner of March Madness, where most of the top prospects will be on display in front of the entire basketball world, ready to showcase their talents. This is an opportunity for many to bolster their status, or for some they may shrink in the big moment, but all of that is yet to be seen. As always, we will be running through the lottery picks in this mock draft, and the order of the picks is based purely on the standings of the NBA at the moment. Before we get started though, this video is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the perfect all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Now, starting at the bottom of the order and working our way up to that highly coveted #1 pick, with the 14th pick in the draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Devin Vassell from Florida State. Vassell has really burst onto the scene as a legit NBA prospect in the second half of the season, and I honestly can't think of someone more on the nose as a 3-and-D prospect than he is. He stands at 6'7" with incredibly long arms, has the natural instincts and ability on defense to make plays and pester the opposition, and he produces about 1 block and 1.5 steals per game. Offensively, he's also shown terrific strides as a playmaker and is already very comfortable getting to his spots and scoring efficiently. He shoots over 42% from 3 and 49% from the field, and while he still isn't the most comfortable creating his own offense off the dribble, playing alongside guys like Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum would make that no big deal whatsoever, because if there's one thing the Blazers need right now, it's wing production outside of those two, and he can space the floor exceptionally. Next up, with the 13th pick in the draft, the Sacramento Kings select Tyrese Maxey from Kentucky. Maxey's a player that, at his best, can be breathtakingly good and will look like a surefire star at times. However, those glimpses have been somewhat rare and his production can be a bit erratic. He's a slightly undersized shooting guard at 6'3" and doesn't really play like a point guard, so that combined with the fact that he's only shooting 28% from 3 this season could be a bit concerning to NBA general managers. When you watch him play, you can easily tell that he's a natural talent that is confident in his shooting ability from anywhere on the floor. The consistency just hasn't been there so far this season though. What solidifies his case as his lottery talent though is his defensive ability, because despite being slightly undersized, he is a beast on that end of the court. With the Kings possibly looking to ship Buddy Hield this summer, Maxey could be that replacement. Next up, with the 12th pick in the draft, the New Orleans Pelicans select RJ Hampton from the NBL in New Zealand. Hampton had a strong showing overseas in the NBL, playing against grown men in a professional league, and that experience is definitely more valuable than what a lot of college athletes are receiving, which should give him an advantage when it comes to taking the leap to the NBA. Unfortunately, he suffered an injury a while ago that held him out for the good part of the season, so we haven't seen new footage of his play in quite some time. But from what we did see, it was promising. Hampton's a solid combo guard with an innate ability to score the basketball. He might not make an immediate impact out the gate in the NBA because he would benefit from adding muscle over time, but the Pelicans are still in a mode where the long view is most important, and down the line, Hampton's ceiling could be very high. Next up, with the 11th pick in the draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Precious Achiuwa from Memphis. Achiuwa's a player that I've seen as fringe lottery talent throughout most of the season, but lately, he's really impressed me, and I could honestly see him thrive in a system like the Spurs, who are known for doing a very good job developing talent. He's by no means a finished product, but right now, he's a complete beast athletically and dominates on the defensive end and on the glass. He's big and strong for a forward, with a high motor and excellent mobility and agility, and his defensive awareness and positioning make it incredibly tough for opponents to finish in the paint without getting swatted by him. Admittedly, his jumper still needs some work, and his decision-making at times can be questionable, but under the tutelage of Greg Popovich and the rest of the Spurs staff, I think he could be a highly productive two-way forward in the league. Next up, with the 10th pick in the draft, the Phoenix Suns select Killian Hayes from France. Hayes may be one of the youngest players in the draft class, still being only 18 years old, but he's made massive strides this season playing in Germany, and NBA scouts are taking notice. He's a tough and naturally creative lead guard that sees the floor well and makes good decisions with the ball, and the best part of his improvements this season are that he's knocking down a higher percentage of his jumpers from the perimeter. Over in Europe, it's rare for teenagers to earn big roles on their teams, yet Hayes is doing just that, which speaks volumes to how good he's becoming so early on. The Suns have been searching for a partner for Devin Booker in the backcourt for years now, and while Ricky Rubio has done a solid job this year, he's definitely not the long-term solution to that problem. Hayes is someone that could be there for years to come and fits the team's needs perfectly. Next up, with the 9th pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards select Isaac Okoro from Auburn. Okoro's entire status as a draft product is built around his defense because as a freshman, he's already arguably the most impactful and naturally gifted defender in the country. On the wing, he's a big-time playmaker capable of shutting down teams' best players, and he has the body and frame of an NBA lockdown defender as well. He's also putting up 13 points per game on 50% shooting at Auburn, so his offensive game is no slouch either, but he's more than likely not destined to be a #1 option at any point in his career. He's another guy who, in the 3-and-D role, could be a big-time contributor alongside top-tier playmaking talent, and it just so happens that the Wizards have two guys like that in Bradley Beal and, when he comes back from injury, John Wall. Next up, with the 8th pick in the draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Onyeka Okongwu from USC. Okongwu was a fast riser regarding his draft stock at the beginning of the season, and as time has gone on, that has only continued to be justified. As a center, he gives you a little bit of everything that you could want out of the position, and in the modern NBA where you need to be able to protect the paint and be versatile, he excels in both of those areas. He's a phenomenal athlete that, when given an opportunity near the rim, finishes with power, but he also has terrific touch around the rim and some solid post moves to create for himself. Defensively, he's averaging almost 3 blocks per game, and his instincts as a rim protector are top-notch. He is slightly undersized for a center, but his versatility and athleticism more than make up for it. Next up, with the 7th pick in the draft, the Chicago Bulls select Tyrese Haliburton from Iowa State. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing any more of him this season because of a fractured wrist he suffered last month, which will hold him out for the rest of the season. But prior to that, he established himself as one of the top prospects in the class with his highly productive and efficient play. He averaged about 15 points, 6.5 assists, and 6 rebounds per game this year, while shooting 50% from the field and 42% from 3, and his feel for the game and ability to create for others are always on display when you watch him. He is more of a pass-first guy, and on a team that's invested in the growth of Kobe White, who plays more of an attacking, scoring style of play, those two could work very well in a backcourt together. Next up, with the 6th pick in the draft, the Detroit Pistons select Obi Toppin from Dayton. Toppin is far and away the favorite to win this year's College Player of the Year award, and rightfully so, because his production combined with the fact that he's a one-man highlight reel has been incredibly fun to watch. As a power forward, he's a confident ball handler, an explosive athlete that throws down highlight dunks with both hands, has a vast array of post moves to create mismatches for defenses, and has range out to the three-point line to stretch the floor. The Pistons are entering a period where they'll be looking to go full rebuild mode, and despite their best player Blake Griffin playing Toppin's position, I have a strong feeling that they'll look to deal him this summer. Toppin would be a great piece to start a rebuild with because he's so well-rounded. Now, before we get into the top 5, I wanted to once again thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you don't know who Squarespace are, they're the perfect place for you to solve all of your website building needs. If you're like me and don't know anything about coding or website design, then Squarespace is perfect for you because they provide template designs for any and all kinds of content types, including pages, galleries, blogs, commerce, calendars, and more. Some of my favorite features of the service include the email campaigns that they offer in order to help bring more traffic to your site, as well as the fully integrated commenting system that supports threaded comments, likes, and replies in order to interact and hear feedback from your community. If you're in the market for building a website, make sure to head over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/hoopsreference to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. The link will be available down in the description of this video, and now with that being said, let's dive back into the top 5 of this mock draft. With the 5th pick in the draft, the New York Knicks select Cole Anthony from North Carolina. Cole Anthony's value to this year's UNC team could not have been made any more clear than how they look when he plays versus when they played when he missed time due to injury. They're having one of their worst seasons in a long time as a program, because without Anthony, they were one of the worst teams in the ACC. Cole brings leadership, toughness, and he simply has the it factor that big-time players need to make big plays on a big stage. He nearly led the team to a win over Duke in what was one of the most exciting games all season long. The Knicks have been looking for a lead guard for a while now, and they don't need to look any further because Anthony should be their guy. Next up, with the 4th pick in the draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Deni Avdija from Israel. Avdija is the top European prospect in this year's class, and according to a few scouts, is drawing comparisons to Luka Doncic. Now, whether or not he'll ever come close to being as good as Luka is definitely no guarantee, but when you look at his playstyle and his strengths, the comparison does have some logic to it. Avdija has very good size for a wing player at 6'8". He's a very good and willing passer of the basketball. He operates well on the ball and makes smart cuts off the ball, and is a solid scorer. What could make or break him as a prospect is his shooting, because while his stroke looks fundamentally sound and goes in at a decent rate, it's nothing special to this point, so if that improves over time, then the sky could be the limit. Up next, with the 3rd pick in the draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select LaMelo Ball from the NBL in Australia. We've all come to know LaMelo over the last few years because of the craziness that is his family, but the fact of the matter is that despite all of that noise, he's the real deal as an NBA prospect. Even though his season was cut short due to injury, there's no doubt that he impressed in his time in Australia, and as a guard, he has a ton of natural talents that very few others possess. He's a big-time passer of the basketball that sees the floor exceptionally well and creates a ton of easy points for others. Plus, he's a triple-double machine and is incredibly entertaining to watch with his silky smooth handle, crafty ability to finish in the lane, and confidence to pull from anywhere at any time. Yes, efficiency was an issue for him this season, but at just 18 years old, he still possesses way too much potential to ignore, and is still easily a top 3 player in the class for me. Next up, with the 2nd pick in the draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Anthony Edwards from Georgia. Edwards has a very good claim to the top spot as best player in this draft, but he may get passed on at number 1 based on team need, which you'll see next. But nonetheless, the Cavaliers would be overjoyed to land a player of his caliber here. Especially in recent weeks, Edwards' already explosive game has taken another step forward, and he seems to be maturing as a player already. He's averaging about 20 points per game this season, and the vast array of moves he has at his disposal, while also being a very strong guard, make him incredibly intriguing. He has all the tools to be a high-level scorer at the next level, and he doesn't even turn 19 until August, so he's producing at this high of a level despite being younger than almost everyone else. And finally, with the number 1 pick in the draft, the Golden State Warriors select James Wiseman, formerly from Memphis. Wiseman barely played at all this college basketball season because of a highly controversial decision by the NCAA to suspend him, which resulted in him choosing to drop out and prepare for the draft on his own. Even though we've barely seen any tape of him against solid competition, the little we did see was promising enough, and just so happens that the Warriors are looking for a player just like him. He's 7'1" and controls the paint on both offense and defense, as he blocks shots at a high level and finishes well at the basket. Him being a rim runner alongside Steph Curry and the rest of the crew could be a scary sight, and the team might be back to contention after just one single down year. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you want your favorite team to draft. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.